Welcome to episode 2 of Behind the Books with Kenn and Sandi. Today, we're joined by Leaine Jones, founder of Smart Books based in Hawke's Bay, and we're diving into confidence, the real world side of building capable bookkeepers, and what it actually takes to succeed beyond just knowing the software. Welcome, Leaine.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. And thank you, NZQBA. I'm really excited to be here today. I started my bookkeeping business. I'm in my 20th year with that, and Smart Books came along as a piece of that nearly 5 years ago. So I've been in the bookkeeping industry for a long time, passionate about it, and hopefully can share some of my thoughts and journey.
Well, first of all, my parents taught me that flattery is the answer to everything. So 20 years, Leaine, you must have started when you were in primary school.
So funny.
Let my
I
mum and
wish.
dad hear that one. 20 years is a long time to be bookkeeping. So I think the first thing you probably need to do is let us know how you even started with bookkeeping. Like how did
Sure.
you, I feel like most bookkeepers we talk to fell into it. So how did you fall into bookkeeping, Leaine?
Yes, I absolutely did fall into it, and I would be a classic case of somebody who bought themselves a job. So I had no career plan, no sort of business strategy or anything like that. We had some rental properties. I'd been doing tax returns for ourselves and some other family members for quite a few years. And I was helping a friend's boyfriend with his books, and I thought I need to move on to some software. So I went and did a MYOB class at, how they have the adult education at high schools in the evenings, and the accountant that took the course said, I think you should do the advanced course, the next one. So I did, and at the end of that she said, I think you should consider this as a career, and she actually gave me my first client. So I was working with a government department at the time, and they were really accommodating. I dropped a day a week from my paid job, very well paid job, and started the business. And then gradually, it took about 12 months, and I was down to working half a day a week at the government department. And I said, look, it's been great, but it's time for me to go. So that was actually really cool, because I sort of had that backstop of paid wages, regular income, as well as having time to develop and get my head around being a bookkeeper, because that was a brand new thing. There wasn't accreditation back then, there wasn't courses that you could go and do. I just brought my own work experience into it. So I had a lot to learn, and I often say this, I used to cry a lot because there wasn't associations like we have now. There wasn't even the kind of network groups that you can access in that now. So it was a really lonely place. But yeah, from that I got quite busy. Then I started taking on staff. This is all desktop software at the time, running around Wellington, multiple places in one day, paperwork on a spike, bulging in trays with bills and things. So it
Different
was,
coloured paper for bills
yeah,
and invoices and credit notes.
yep.
What was
So
it
it was
like?
yeah,
Sorry, I've just sort of a random question. So
sure.
I had my first baby and then COVID hit, right? And so the thing with COVID was everyone was like, I started working from home and everyone was like, oh my God, it must be so hard working from home. And at that point, like I'd already been doing it for a couple of years when COVID came along. So it actually didn't really feel like a change to me. But I feel like 20 years ago, did you actually have an office or were you working from home when you started?
So when
Because
I
that would have been
started,
weird.
yeah, you're right. So yeah, lots of things have changed along the time. I mean, when I very first started, there was orders coming in on fax machines. We were still writing out checks to pay bills. It was a very different environment to what we have now. So when I very first started, I set up the spare room as an office. So I was working from home at that point, and I occasionally I use student job search a lot. So I was using university students from Victoria University in Wellington, and sometimes they would come and work from my place. Mostly they were working on site with clients. then I got busy, and once I sort of got full time with it, I actually still have this client. He's been a big mentor for me, and he chaired an advisory board. That's another story. But I rented a desk in his office in CBD in Wellington, and had different places there. And then when Xero came along, and we were wanting to move back to the Hawke's Bay at that point. That moving into the cloud enabled me to basically move, and I still have many of those same clients that are still down in Wellington. So it's gone from being very tied to the desk at the place of business, to being basically anywhere. So I have clients all through the North Island now, and most of them I have met in person at some point, but obviously you don't necessarily need to. So huge shift. And like you, Sandi, when COVID came along, I'd already been working from home for 4 or 5 years. So it really didn't dramatically change operations, I guess.
Such a confusing question, eh? Like, how are you coping? It's not actually anything to It was a big change for Kenn, not so much for us working at home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's a big difference there between bookkeepers and accountants on this, because many accountants are still working in practices and firms in office buildings, as opposed to many bookkeepers are often solo, and typically they've chosen that as their pathway because they want the flexibility, and they're being out with their families or whatever else is going on to be able to work from home. So it's quite a different approach.
It's actually a bit crazy to me because, like, I know we're getting off tangent in COVID here, but before I had said first child, I was actually working at a CA firm, and I was one of the administration managers, and I was actually the tax registrar as well. So talking about things changing, like back in those days, I had to request our tax agent list from the tax lady at IRD, and they weren't allowed to post it. They had to drop it off like in this big paper Bible thing. And my first child was very unsettled and didn't like to sleep. And it got to the point where I just couldn't keep traveling with her and things like that. And I asked to work from home, and they told me I couldn't because it was vital that I was on site in the accounting office, mainly to get those reports, I think. And I did a little bit of IT support as well. So now I know you're a tax agent as well, and you can just like download those things at a click of a button, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's been a huge shift within Inland Revenue as well. Like, they've had to evolve with all of these changes and cloud-based software and ways of operating, and they're awesome to deal with. And I mean, back in the day, I mean, they had lots of offices all around, including quite small regional centres. I think there was one in Dannevirke. So,
was that the only thing in Dannevirke? Sorry to anyone in Dannevirke.
Yeah, I figure, I went to high school there. I think most people leave at some point and very few go back. But it's a nice little town. So so our interactions with those kinds of, whether it was ACC, IRD, that was much more people facing. And now we've just got used to it being different.
Yeah, and I think that's the silver lining of the COVID, right? I mean, it wasn't a great moment, but if there was a takeaway from it, is that a lot of jobs can actually be done from home. And thankfully for that one, it can be done anywhere in the world.
Yeah, case in point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. So now I feel like if you have been around in bookkeeping for a long time, you know Leaine Jones, right? So if there's one
She is
thing
legendary.
she is legendary, exactly. So if there's one thing most people in the industry probably don't know about you, what is it?
Sure. Because I have been around a while, I've had a number of jobs over the years. I actually started off in the bank, and that was interesting because I have really strong reconciliation skills, and I thought that was an bookkeeping, accounting type skill. It turns out not necessarily. So I thank the banking industry for those that piece. One of the more interesting jobs I had when my children were little, so I didn't have to drive to work. I just basically had to hop over a fence. I was
Literally.
looking, yes, climb over the fence. I remember my mother-in-law being horrified. What did I want for my birthday? And I said a big gym torch so that I didn't fall over while I was in the early hours in the morning or late at night. So I was a custodian for live crayfish. So there was a holding facility on the Wairarapa coast. The fishermen would bring their catch in. I would weigh and measure it, and they were held in big shallow tanks, seawater pumping through for a week or two, sometimes longer. Then we would pack them all up, and they would get shipped down to Wellington for live export. So that was a very valuable commodity, high position of trust. The fishing industry is a bit rogue. So, I had to, there were some quite robust checks for that. I think once again, the reconciliation skills came into, we came in handy. So that is one of my, I guess, I left it on my CV for a long time because it's just such an interesting talking point.
Yeah.
So you went from custodian to bank to bookkeeping. Like when you told people you were a bookkeeper, did they think that you were like taking bets on horses at that point, or like?
Yeah, so bookkeeper, so that still happens, right? Like and I used to
You're a
hesitate
bookie.
when people say, "What do you do?" And I hesitated to call myself a bookkeeper, and I don't do that anymore. I'm very loud and proud about it now. And even though I'm sort of got my other foot firmly in the accounting side of things, I like to say that first and foremost, I'm a bookkeeper because that shapes how I do my work. So I've got an interesting scenario at the moment, shifting someone over from their past accountant who just cash coded everything, never asked to see any receipts. And I'm asking for stuff. And she's like, "Oh, well, it's all in a box." And I said, "Look, you're working with a bookkeeper now. It's not going to cut it. We have to do these things differently." I think the bookkeeper tag is important. And I think now, where we are now with profiles like, the likes of NZQBA really putting a spotlight on the industry, is people are now more aware, or think they are, of what a bookkeeper actually does. Sometimes they do have a weird thought on it, and I think my mother doesn't really know what I do, but it's good to be
There's
a
some
bookkeeper.
social media content in that for us somewhere, Ken.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, when I just when you said that about the receipts, then I saw something the other day about a woman was saying her husband had cleaned out his work truck to because he'd got a new work truck, and she had this like a Woolies reusable bag full of receipts that had come out of his truck, and even I had a little eye twitch at that, like, oh my god.
Oh no, farmers still do that. Farmers do that. They keep them in rubbish bags. And then they'll conveniently, sometimes, I think conveniently, they think for them is, "Oh, it must have gone out in the rubbish. We can't find any of it." So it does still happen. The shoebox used to be a thing, and we would sort of say, "Can you staple all the receipts to the bank statement that they belong to? Otherwise, we're spending lots of time on the, lounge floor at home just sorting everything out." So. But I mean, the requirements haven't changed. IRD has not moved their stance. You need to have a source document. So it's just now that we can have more digital ways of capturing it. So the role itself, I don't think, has changed dramatically. It's just the way that we do it, and and now with AI as well as lots of tech, it's different in how we operate, but the actual requirements of the job, I think, are fundamentally the same.
Do you ever wonder what happened to all the shoeboxes? Like, if they're not being used for receipts anymore, for the people doing it digitally, like, what do people do with their shoeboxes now?
Well, maybe they put them in the recycling.
You'd hope so.
I don't know if we were very good at recycling way back in the day either.
But now with online shopping, I don't, I was, because I was thinking about that one. Like, I don't think we have a lot of shoe boxes now, unless you buy them in the malls, because with online shopping, they just put in a piece of plastic.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of retailers are like, I went to Postie the other day with my kids. Bad choice as well. Don't do that. It costs more when you take them with you. But at the checkout, like she said to me, "Can I email the receipt?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you want." Like,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, which is great, right? Yeah, so we're just thinking about it differently. So it's more that sustainable kind of push, or just, and consumers are demanding this too. They don't want all this extra stuff necessarily. Yeah, so we have to think lean in our own bookkeeping business too, like, and that's part of operating efficiently. But yeah.
Fun times.
Yes. All right. Okay. So we've got another question for you, Leanne. When
Sure.
was the moment that you realized there was a real gap in the market for practical learning?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is really focusing where I've gone from being in a bookkeeping business for a long time, and then about 7 years ago, um, by then sort of having been around a while, having lots of maybe newer bookkeepers, people just getting in touch. I've always been happy to help or talk about anything. So you start to build that bookkeeper community that helps us thrive, I guess. Um, and so they were coming to me with technical questions, questions about tricky stuff with some GST, maybe payroll, all those perhaps more complex things that you don't come across in the day-to-day bookkeeping work, but you're still firmly part of what you need to be covering across. And so I was doing a weekly, and this was, Zoom was new, so this whole online thing was all brand new, really. Doing a half hour every Thursday for anybody who wanted to show up. And the word got out, and it actually got to the point where it was like over 30 people, and they were all binging and bonging and coming in late. And I was doing all of this for free, just sharing basically zero tips. So just different things with the software of how to make your bookkeeper life easier. So it just got too big. So I decided, well, and some very good colleagues that I have, because I'm not very money focused with my business, and they said, look, you've got something to offer here. Clearly people want it because the group is getting so big, so you need to do something about it. So that's where SmartBooks kind of got born. And my original thought was I would just expand those half-hour sessions to be online courses, zero for bookkeepers. That was the plan. So I ran it with this lovely group that I'd had. I did a pilot. It was probably the longest pilot ever. I did it for about a year. So they were still getting
Good
lots of
things
free
take time.
content. What was that?
Good things take time.
Yeah. And what I realized was there were some real gaps in their learning, because bookkeeping is different to accounting, where people haven't necessarily had a tertiary pathway with their education. So and this is what makes bookkeepers fabulous. They come in from all walks of life and experiences, often have had really quite high up corporate roles. I've had some of my smart bookies, I think one of them worked on a super yacht, someone else had been an air traffic controller, all sorts of things. But what that means is if they haven't also had that more formal learning, that there's some pieces missing. So I kind of had to do a U-turn with SmartBooks and say, actually, we're not going to do the zero courses. We're going to start with some basic accounting education. So like the accounting equation, understanding the balance sheet. The one I'm working on at the moment is about gross profit. So just those practical, being able to apply it. So it's not just what's in the textbook, it's actually what does this mean in the world of a bookkeeper in terms of their day-to-day work with clients. So that's what SmartBooks is. And then because it took me so long to learn it was bigger than I thought to set up the courses and everything that went with that, and the video editing is a nightmare. So put a membership alongside that, and that's really what I love the most, is talking with other bookkeepers, especially the newer and younger ones that come through now, their pathway into the profession is very different to mine. And I just love seeing what they share and where they're at and the confidence that a lot of those bring, and those that need a bit more support or bolstering. And I was certainly one of those. It's really nice to be able to support people as well.
What do you think made people come to you originally? Like, I know, so we've known each other probably about 8-9 years, something like that, right?
Yep.
Like I know that I could have always gone to you and asked a question and got the answer. Like, do you think that that's like, were you putting your hand up to help people, or?
Yeah, yes, I guess, in a very quiet way. So I'm a very introverted person. I sort of more than four people in a room, and I'm starting to, get a bit hot and bothered. So I've always tended to, if I've been at conferences or other industry type events, I sort of look for the people that are a little bit unsure or on their own and just go and have a conversation. And I've really tried really hard to be approachable in that way, and it does seem to work. So I probably get 4 or 5 uh, reasonably frantic phone calls from a bookkeeper or an email, and then we'll make up a Zoom time um, every week. So I feel like, yeah, the door is open because I didn't have that support, and I just think it's something that I can give back. And bookkeepers are great at collaboration anyway. Like, they're super good at it.
Do you have like is there a common thing that they come to you for? Like, I know, like, GST is a big one, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
people.
it seems to be. So it is those types of questions where, and I know I had this when I started, was I might have somebody's bought, a business owner's bought a new vehicle, they've traded in their old one, they've put some of it on finance, they've put some of their own money in, and the bookkeeper wants to know how to code that transaction. And I'd send off a question to a couple of accounting colleagues, and I'd get equally vague answers back and still not know how to code something. So that's the bit that I do. That's the bit that I do. I say, here's the practical application. This is how we're going to do this. So a lot of the one-on-one stuff I do now, or some of the tutorial type training, is looking at those specific scenarios and what that means in the world of a bookkeeper, to that practical step, the next piece to get it done.
And then
Just for
Leanne,
the record, I was looking at Kenn's face then when you gave that GST scenario, just to see if like the tumbleweed came across, because
I
she hates things like that.
no, I actually have a question for Leanne as well, because like fun fact, Leanne is actually the bookkeeper of my husband as well for his work, and she's really very trustworthy and very knowledgeable. But I'm just wondering, do you also get non-bookkeeping related questions from your clients sometimes, because you reach a point where they trust you too much, they think you have all the answers in the world? Does it turn into a counseling sessions too?
Oh, yeah, regularly. And I've often said that I often at times feel like a marriage guidance counselor. I think that's important. And I think that's one of the key characteristics of a really good bookkeeper, is that we are approachable, that they can tell us, clients, can really tell us what's going on. And we sometimes need to know, because the numbers might be telling us one thing and then other behaviors might be telling us something else. So we want to be across the whole thing. And I know for me, Xero has been very good for me in terms of being able to have a virtual business. I've had over the years, so I have a adult daughter who has had some mental health issues at times that have been pretty serious, and I've had to be flexible in the way that I work. And once I opened up with clients around some of what was happening, the stuff that they then came back with that was happening with them was quite, sort of almost confronting in that, but also the fact that they trust you so much that they are happy to share their personal side of things as well. Because when you're in business, whether you're a bookkeeping business or one of our clients, it's the personal and the business are not separate. Like, it's all part of who we are, and it matters. So now I'm finding most of my tax clients are older than me, and they are starting to get sick. They're starting to, some of them have passed away. So we need to be having some pretty personal conversations at time. And I think bookkeepers are good at this. We genuinely care, but we'll then have those practical ways of how we can navigate a situation. I would say, my clients, if all sorts of things might happen, may or may not be tax related, that I would be one of the people they would call, just because I would have some suggestions. So, yeah. So you do. Long answer to the question, Ken, but you get asked about pretty much across the board.
Now, that's good to know. Just in case Stephen and I run into a problem in the future, we know where to go for free.
Oh, well, there you go.
I feel like this is the perfect segue. So, Leaine was on our panel last year at conference, and like over the years, I've heard some epic stories from you, but I feel like you need to publicly on the podcast share the undie story.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
It's such a great story.
It is.
Oh no. All right. So yes.
Here we go.
So clients, bless them, and bookkeepers being what we are very tough on having source documents. We need to see the receipt. We don't just want to be told what something is. We need proof of purchase. We need to make sure that it's genuinely business deductible. And I had this new client, very messy, everything paper-based. He was basically doing it in a spreadsheet. And this is not that long ago, maybe 4 years ago. Anyway, in the end, tried to get him, taking snapshots of the receipts, and that wasn't working very well. I was up here, he was in Wellington. So in the end, I said, post up the shoebox, basically, and put it all into HubDoc myself. And along the way, while I was doing that, there was this wonderful receipt. It was from a chemist shop, and it was for some male underpants, and it said, he'd written on the receipts, work undies, and then underneath that he'd underlined that, and then he'd put best undies ever. And it was I just never had that before, and just thought, well, I wish I'd kept a snapshot of it, because it was. And then we had this conversation about, work clothing and what's deductible and what not. But I'd never seen that before. I have had some really weird things along the way. And I guess my answer to that usually is, so what you've told me, and you're trying to justify this as a business expense, would you be happy to ring Inland Revenue and put that to them exactly like you've told me? And then they usually, get a bit sheepish, or, oh, no, just thought I'd try, so yeah.
How did he try and justify claiming his best undies ever as a work expense? Do you remember his reason?
Yeah, he was pretty creative with lots of things, so,
It was probably making him work better, right? When he was wearing the super
I don't
undies.
know. He was an architect, so I couldn't quite follow. We get this a lot. You get this a lot with tradies with their work socks.
Oh.
They only wear that. They only wear their work socks at work. Why are they not deductible? They get really tied up in knots over it.
Oh my gosh! So my husband, he's not doing it anymore, but he was a tradie, a bricklayer, and the socks and the work shorts. He was so particular about the brand that he had. In the end, I'd be like, "Can you just go and buy your own?" Because he'd be like, "Oh, they need to feel a certain way. They need to be certain thickness." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Oh no, he might be a magic undie man waiting to happen.
Well, I'm his bookkeeper, so not likely, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Is
that, oh, I don't even know. I'm distracted by undies now. Oh my God, Kenn, go.
Now, were you going to continue your undie story, Leaine?
That is the undie story. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought there was more to that one. I thought, did you manage to send it to Inland Revenue? And did they actually?
No. So no, it was not deductible. So
okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, what are the chances if he's gonna hear this podcast? I'm like, oh, that's my story. That's me. I'm the undies guy.
It might feel really special.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So now, Leanne, I'm just wondering. So, what does a normal day look like back then versus now? Do you still get those kind of stories or
Yeah, a little bit.
clients?
So I guess, yeah, and the 20 years kind of showcases that. So I was thinking there's sort of two parts to this for me. One of them
Mm,
is way back at the beginning. Yeah, absolutely, physically on site everywhere, working out, who was doing what, how the work would be done, um, as opposed to working virtually. And then I was also thinking about when I started Smart Books, it was very small. I thought I had a clear plan on how that was going to look, that it was going to be this online learning platform. The membership kind of came along after. Um, so sort of had to really rethink what I was doing. So, and now what I'm doing with Smart Books now is sort of a lot of it's
mm,
been about me becoming more confident, um, being able to build the content in the way it sort of back myself, which at the beginning I was like, who am I to be purporting to be an expert bookkeeper or whatever it is, what's so special about me. But in fact, over the time, the feedback I've had and the fact that there's I've got a huge amount of in the membership that have been there that whole way through. Um, so it does help your own confidence. So I guess I want to say with this too, just because I've been around a
mm,
long time and I can talk about how things are done and what's best practice or whatever that might be, I still have those moments of self-doubt, and I've still got to get my notes out, sometimes get the textbook out, get the tax guide out, just to double check. So yeah, it's just an ongoing journey.
mm.
It really is. We never stop learning.
How do
True.
you split it now, do you think? Like, do you do, is it 50-50 between your bookkeeping business, which I don't think we've actually said the name of, Jones Business Solution, for anyone who needs a bookkeeper/accountant. So is it like 50-50 between, I can't even talk now, JBSL and SmartBooks, or?
So I wish it was, because my real passion now is smart books.
Yeah.
I feel like, when you've done this, I often say now I'm a bookkeeper who doesn't do bookkeeping, um, because it doesn't fly my kite anymore. Sitting there putting in bills and doing a bit of reconciling is not my cup of tea. Um, so I've changed the Jones business to suit that. So most of my clients are sort of self-supporting, or they have their own bookkeeper who then does it my way, so that I can still be the tax agent. So, a lot of those changes in how I want to do things change, that changes the business over time as well. And with Smart Books, I spent a lot of time last year to basically automate things a bit more, get more streamlined so that I have more time to carve out. But at the moment, it's probably 70-30. And yeah, it really needs to be, I want it to be the other way round. Yeah. So
Is it
work in
It would be
progress.
hard though, wouldn't it? Because you've got, like, obviously we're in tax season now. We're recording this at the start
Mm,
of the financial year for 26-27, and then once you kind of get over that hump, you hit like GST, every couple of months, and then all the other
Yeah.
stuff you do in between that. Like, it would be hard. I guess you've got such regimented structures for bookkeeping and accounting. Like,
Yes.
there's always something coming up on the calendar, so it must make it hard to
Yeah,
fit.
there is. So, yeah, so for me, and certainly this has come through from the membership too, is that time is the biggest challenge for all of us, is just having enough time to fit everything in. And when you've got what I feel are fairly concrete
mm,
deadlines that are driven by IRD, um, so I work on a power hour. I work on certain days for certain things. One of the biggest things I've had to learn, I had to learn this right at the beginning when I started as a bookkeeper, is you don't always get everything done for
mm,
that client on that day, and that is okay. But you have to get pretty clear at how you communicate with clients, how you are able to identify what is important right now, perhaps what some of the things are that can sit a little bit longer, and just be a good communicator around that, but also being honest with yourself. Otherwise we hide behind the easy stuff. We put off the project work that maybe would earn us more money, or might just be a bit harder to do. So yeah, it's being smart with the tools that you're using, to try and streamline those things a bit more so that you can still get everything done and still have time with your family.
So now, Leaine, you've mentioned you're more passionate towards the smart book. So are you rethinking what you're offering right now?
Great question. Yeah, so as I say, from what I thought I'd be doing at the beginning with Smart Books is quite different to how it's kind of landed. And I'm now at a stage now, I've got a really good, healthy number in the membership. I've freed up some time. I really want to get back into recording more courses because the feedback I've had on those is really good, along with some other content. So I'm just in the process right now. And I have lots of great people to bounce ideas off. I have a really good professional network, and I've had a bit of a kick up the bum from someone who's really good at on the marketing end, which is so my weak link. So yeah, I guess once again, it just highlights that the way we work and operate is continually changing,
Yes, for sure.
and technology has so much to do with that. It's such a fast-paced, moving thing that it's going to continue to evolve. People's needs change. So yeah, what I'm working on now is an expanded membership program too. When I started it, I thought it would be predominantly for brand new or very part-time bookkeepers, and I've now got some real seniority in there. They're still getting really good value. I think it's time that I need to frame that differently. So that's what happens with my power hour, very early in the morning before I look at email or my phone or anything else. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be able to work on the business. I'd just be continually in the business doing what needs to be done.
So at the moment, sorry, Smart Books is the membership, the courses, and you also do some tutorials and workshops. That's all of them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've tried to mix it up so that we've got some publicly freely available offerings and resources. I'm really big on process, so I'll break a process down. What is the best way of doing this? I am very much about asking very open-ended questions. I want bookkeepers to think about their business themselves or how they want to operate. There's not just one way of doing something. There's not just the perfect checklist. It's more, what does your business mean to you? Where are you going with it? And then you need to shape that and drive it in the way that meets your values, meets your goals, and it can be whatever you want it to be. So I guess the big thing that I love the most, and if somebody said what is Smart Books about, I would be saying I want to help and support bookkeepers to be the best that they can be. And I think that applies to any stage that they're at, whether they're new, whether they're sort of intermediate, they've been around a while, or whether they're really experienced. Because I've just come up with some new ideas yesterday that I'm going to implement. So yeah, we're all in the same, what did they say? We're in the different boat, same storm.
Yeah. So, Leanne, where do you see bookkeepers making the biggest difference for small businesses right now then?
Well, yeah, so interesting at the moment, things are very tight financially. I think it really highlights, this is where a bookkeeper brings incredible value to an overloaded small business owner. If we can keep their data clean and up to date, then we're going to know where things are at. They're going to know what's happening from a cash flow point of view. There's not that, you want that no surprises focus that a bookkeeper can give you. But I think that's one part is doing a good job with the technical part of the work. But I think the other thing is, with what I touched on earlier, is just having that really open communication, really supportive interactions with your clients, and being there, to be we're putting out small fires instead of big ones. So if you can ring your friendly bookkeeper quickly, then we're going to avoid some big problems later on.
So if you so the other day we NZQBA put out a blog about the fuel price increase. So obviously when because fuel prices are horrendous, so lots of business owners look to trim expenses they don't think they need, right? So I think we saw the same thing in COVID, like,
Yes.
marketing's the first to go, bookkeeping's the first to go. So our blog was about how bookkeepers are actually in a really cool position to advise their clients on the fuel prices, because if the fuel prices are affecting them so much now, then that's not necessarily the problem. Like, they obviously didn't have enough margin built into their,
Yes.
costing, right? So, yeah, like with things like that, what's my question? Like, do you fight to keep the client, like to show the value in that case? Like, if someone came to you and said, "Oh, I'm spending like okay. So my dad's a truck driver, and it used to cost him $600 for a trip from Auckland to Wellington, and now it's $1,200. So I mean, that pushes everything up, right? So if you had a client coming to you saying, like, my fuel has doubled, I need to stop the bookkeeping, is it something like, do you fight with the client to keep them and say, well, actually, we need to look at this, so because there's a bigger problem here, like, don't look at just the fuel price? Am I making sense? Not a bookkeeper.
I think, really good
now.
point. I would like to think that the bookkeeper is not the first to go when a business is looking at trimming costs. One of the things we need to think about as a bookkeeper is, are we being as efficient as we can for that client? And I mean, it's been interesting as different, especially receipt capture software has come along. I've actually had people say to me, "Oh, I don't want to use anything like that because I'm not going to get paid for as many hours if I automate it." And I'm like, wow, that's,
You mean a bookkeeper? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
thought you meant a client.
yeah. So it's saying, well, no, why would I do that? Because I'm going to earn less revenue. I mean, wouldn't you want something like that to be happening so you can then spend more elevated time on more, whether it's advisory, whether it's forecasting, whether it's just, just having time to do a really solid month end, because you're not sitting there just frantically entering bills. So this is where it's important. I personally, it's never happened to me. I guess I established that value right at the beginning. I almost talked people out of having me as their bookkeeper when I was still doing bookkeeping, because I'm really tough on the rules. And that's not what everybody wants. So I think it depends. I think it comes down to your value offering, and also evolving and continuing your education as a bookkeeper so that you've got more to offer, so that you do become a valued part of the team. I mean, I know for me, always get asked to the staff Christmas do. They're treating you as one of the team. Get invited to their kids' birthday parties. I've used clients' beach houses. You become a really trusted, valued partner. If it's not feeling like that, then maybe it's just not the right fit. And I know it was hard with COVID. I know it was, especially in Auckland, really tough with hospitality, which run on a low margin at the best of times. So there'll be some situations where it's just not viable to continue with a bookkeeper. Goodness knows what happens to them after that. But sometimes they come back as well. Like they cutting the we're going to do this ourselves. And I had this from one of my very early clients. I didn't lose them at that point. I just put a proposal in front of them, said, I'll set you up on Xero, I'll do the initial training. These are my other, if you want ongoing bookkeeping, we could do this, A, B, or C, all that kind of stuff. And they said, no, we've been in business, we know what we're doing. And I think it took 4 weeks. And they said, you know how you had that other option for us and having somebody in-house? We'd really like to take you up on that. So sometimes you have to let them fail for them for a little bit, for them to actually appreciate the value that,
Yeah.
because they can look at it from the outside. Bookkeepers are very efficient, they get things done. It can feel easy for us, but for the client, so they think, oh, it's going to take me the same amount of time. Well, it's not. What a bookkeeper can do in an hour is quite different to a business owner trying to spend the weekend with lots of interruptions doing their own GST.
That's true.
Do
And
you
I
think?
think as long as you show your value to them, then they continue to appreciate you and have you, right? So I'm just wondering then, Leanne, I want to get your advice on this because you're not only a bookkeeper, a tax agent, but you're also an educator. So what do you think great bookkeepers consistently do differently?
Yeah, so I think there's a few pieces to that. Obviously, there's their technical experience, there's their strong values and ethics that they have, but I think too that they've got to be curious, they've got to be open-minded. I think they have to have really good communication skills and not hide behind email or never pick up the phone. Like they have to be proactive. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned from the biggest feedback I get from clients is that they get peace of mind. They know that you've got their back. And to be able to do that, you've got to be not just good at your job, but you've got to be aware. You've got to be able to spot the red flags. You've got to be able to preempt situations. So like Sandy's saying about the fuel costs, doing a bit of a forecast here, and actually what is the impacts on the business if this continues at this sort of price levels over the next 1, 2, 3, 6 months. What does that look like? So it is providing that value. But I think and just keep learning, because we have to. If you're just we're going backwards if we stand still. So I would do some form of probably 2 to 3 hours every single week at least on education
Do you
for
think?
myself.
Do you think that there's so I vaguely recall a couple of years ago there was like a lot of fear, not fear, this might not be the right word, but within the bookkeeping community there were a lot of people that didn't want to teach their clients how to do things because the fear was that they were going to lose them, right?
Yes.
But to my thinking, and again, Kenn and I are not bookkeepers, but I would feel like teaching someone how to do their reconciliation so that I could focus on how the fuel would impact them would be more like a better use of my time as a bookkeeper.
Absolutely. This might be where it's put me slightly different to a lot of other bookkeepers. My philosophy right from the very beginning is I am there to support a business. I am not there to wave a magic wand and that everything is auto-magically done. I am there to me, if you're in business in whatever shape or size or capacity that looks like, you have some responsibility as the business owner to have an awareness of what's going on with your business. It's no good just outsourcing everything and not having a basic understanding. So I've always it's quite exciting because you get, oh, I'm no good at accounts, or, oh, I wouldn't have it. I mean, some of them have really had trouble just turning on the computer way back when. Some of them are still a bit like that.
Oh
So
gosh.
to me, it's working out, and now we're seeing lots of. I mean, I've got a client at the moment who's got dyscalculia, so she can't do numbers at all. She
Is
can't see them. She can't
is
work
that
with them.
dyslexia for numbers? Like,
Yeah.
wow.
So, we still need to be compliant with IRD. We still need to get things done on time. She's a very smart, savvy lady making a
Yeah.
beautiful artisan type product. So this is what I do. This is what I love doing. This is why I like working with bookkeepers one-on-one too, is finding out what makes them tick and how do we get the outcome. What's going to be the way that we get there that's going to work the best for that business owner or for that person, because there'll be more than one way. that's how I've parented my kids. There's more, okay, catastrophizing, drama, my life is over. There is always more than one way of getting something done. So it's
Hey,
finding the magic around
all you need
that.
to do is watch Finding Dory, right? Because that's the theme of
Yes.
the movie. There's
Keep
always a
swimming.
way.
Just keep
Yeah.
swimming and you'll get there.
Have you ever had a client that, like, so I kind of just imagine someone who doesn't know how to do reconciling right, and you're kind of teaching them how to do it. Have you ever had anyone fail at that spectacularly and you've had to do it for them, or do they get there eventually?
So often I've had one of my very first ones, and this is a lady I still have, and they now have they went from being a very unsuccessful business to now being actually hugely profitable.
Congratulations for your part in that.
Yes.
Well, yeah. But so this happens a lot too. So this is where the husband is the business, um, and my wife will be able to. She's a stay-at-home mum. She'll do the books. I just need you to teach her. She was not and never has been an accounts person, and it took a lot of site visits back then, and then we had to she finally got the hang of MYB, and then we moved her on to Xero, and that was another learning curve, and now we have an Australian Xero and a New Zealand Xero, and then have to bring it all together. She has been amazing. I didn't think we would ever get her over the line, and now she would be one of my absolute model clients. So for me, I typically don't do the bookkeeping. One of the things that I'll have another bookkeeper, maybe they just work separately with the client, they're not going through me or anything. But so I'm just typically coming in at GST time and having a look at things, and her file is immaculate, basically. She's got that. It's taken her probably 15 years, but and she really, and just being able to, and I often say to her when we have the annual catch up face to face and all that, and I'm like, look how far you've come. Look at you, hardly the questions you have are the tricky things. Yeah. So that's they get excited from that too. They get quite proud of themselves, and I feel proud too, because then I think, well, I've done a good job.
I feel like Kenn and I both were a little bit shocked then, but I feel like we need to lodge a complaint on behalf of women everywhere, especially the stay-at-home mums, when their
Yes,
husbands say, "Oh, my wife
yes,
can do that. The missus will do it." I
I
hate when my
know,
husband does
and
that.
I mean, sometimes I fall into that trap too when I see,
Yeah.
say, a tradie struggling. And I'm like, have you got a partner? Could someone else? Sometimes it's their mum. Could someone else help with the accounts work? Um, yeah. So, but I mean, you keep an open mind. Some guys are really good at their stuff. It's not a gender thing at all. But that
Oh, it's
back
just the
at
assumption that you're a
yeah,
stay-at-home
it is
mum,
an
like you've got
assumption, and it
time to do
is,
it.
or that they see bookkeeping as admin, or people see payroll as admin. And admin has its challenges too, where they're very different. Admin is quite different to bookkeeping, I think. And you get some bookkeepers who are across lots of things. They might be in that VA space, they might be doing marketing. There's a whole mix of things that kind of, when you're helping a small business owner, that you're taking some of those hats off. But you've got to work to your strengths for that. You certainly wouldn't want me in there with a small business helping them with their marketing.
I'd be a bit concerned.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this where
We can't be good at everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great segue, because I was just going to say, over the years I've known you, I've heard you say this many a time: stay in your lane.
Yes.
You knew what I was going to say then, right?
Well, I wasn't sure, but yeah, over time, and I think it's keeping coming back to why you started this. What did you want this to be about? And also being in the driver's seat, so that you're on the right side of the road, so that you have a map to get where you need to go. What you don't want to do is become that reactive bookkeeper. And I've seen some bookkeepers that one of their points of difference is that they are reactive, and I'm like, no, that's not sustainable. But you want to be in charge. So if you're getting stretched and you're doing things that you don't like doing, why is that happening? Are you letting that happen? Have you not made clear boundaries from the beginning? Have you not been crystal clear with your onboarding and your engagement and your review processes as you're working with a client to make sure that what you're doing and what you're being paid to do is still aligned with what the brief is, so this is about reviewing your own performance and your own business as well as helping your clients. It's okay not to do everything for them. You can say, oh, let me have a think about that. I might know someone else that could help, or here are some suggestions. You don't have to fall into the trap of, oh yeah, I'll leave that with me, I'll get it sorted, when you really, that is not, that's maybe needs an AR, an HR lawyer or something to look at something, or a tax specialist. So it is important to be careful if you stay within your own experience, but also within the own services that you're offering.
Do you think that a lot of people are still doing that, I guess? Like, I know the VA world, which we're very good friends with the VA network, hi to all the VAs, but a lot of them like offer so much,
Yes.
and they kind of add bookkeeping on, which is not right or wrong, but do you think that that's still, because I feel like a couple of years ago people had lost their jobs from COVID and needed to work from home. And a lot of the VA and bookkeeping community are mums who've had babies and do something flexible, right? And so I feel like a couple of years ago, it felt like people were starting businesses offering everything just to try and get something. But to me, doesn't actually feel like that as much anymore. Like a lot of the newer members we're seeing with NZQBA are quite specific about what they're offering. So I think it's kind of, I feel like we went through a everything thing and we kind of come back down to everyone kind of realizing they need to offer what they know and build their network to support what they don't.
Absolutely. And I think, it's about being intentional, and it's about having that bit of a plan from the beginning so that you don't go off on some kind of tangent. One of the things I always say, if doing a particular piece of something, does it bring joy to your heart? And if it doesn't, then why are you doing it? And I know several years ago when I was in a burnout situation, this key client of mine where I rented a desk, he took me aside, shut the door and said, what's going on? If you keep going like this, you're going to die. And I just burst into tears because that's what you do.
I was going to say, did you say thank you as well? Could you not have phrased that better?
So I was completely overwhelmed, overcommitted, not charging enough, basically going broke. And I was just in that complete reactive, just working and not going anywhere. So on the hamster wheel. So he chaired an advisory board for me, and one of the first things that they asked to see my timesheet, and I was only tracking billable time. So it looked like I was a part-timer, which wasn't true. And then he said, when did you last have a holiday? And how long was that for? And it was about 2 years prior. Oh, wow. And the biggest thing that was stopping me having a holiday was payroll, because we were actually a payroll bureau at that stage. So I had a designated payroll contractor working for me, but because we had so many, there was always final pays. There would be some I have an HR background, there'd be some tricky stuff. So I just always had to have my eye over it. So we stopped offering that service and just put a 3-month exit for it. I didn't offer to find someone else. I didn't offer to set them up on other software. I just said, these are the parameters. And that just takes all that pressure off you. So you can make business decisions like that, or if you've got that client where it's just not working out, it's such an arm wrestle, 3 years later, you're still struggling to get receipts, you're still doing GST on the day that it's due because they just don't get back to you. Just have those conversations, have them, don't leave them as long as I have a few times. I've got much better at it now. I sort of kick them out early now, but yeah, it shouldn't feel hard work. You want to love what you're doing. You don't want to look at your phone and think, oh, do I really have to take that call? If that's happening too frequently, then you need to look at your business.
But I think also sometimes it's difficult to get that perspective, especially for those bookkeepers who are just starting out, feeling
Oh, yeah.
overwhelmed and working solo. So I'm just wondering then, like, how important is it to have a community and, support people to talk to you and just help you realize these things?
Before you answer that, I feel like, just because you've made me realize something, payroll, right? Like payroll is its own beast. And we see, like, we tend to work with the payroll software companies because bookkeepers are, but we are quite specific in not doing anything about payroll because we don't, NZPPA, great association, they know their stuff. Payroll is massive. But I feel like there's a lot of bookkeepers out there that want to offer the service to their clients, but because it's such a beast and you need to know so much, I feel like there's a lot of bookkeepers that are partnering with people that offer payroll. So they, rather than learning it themselves, like people are joining communities that way that's just judged based on what we kind of know about the bookkeeping members. But do you think that's kind of a thing?
I think it's a smart move. Payroll, just from a legislation point of view, is so full of fish hooks. It is not admin. It is a lot of it. It's very fuzzy very quickly where we think it's about payroll. We think the questions are a payroll question and they are an HR question. So it can get really blurred. If I was starting out now, I wouldn't have payroll in the mix at all. I only work with one payroll software just because that's enough for me to keep my head around, and I'm not doing payroll processing. I'm doing month end and end of year reconciliations and keeping an eye that the PAYE is paid. So I'm not offering payroll as a full service, and there's, as you say, plenty of bookkeeping businesses out there or people that have specialised, and I think it is an absolute specialist area. Absolutely.
I feel like payroll quite often gets lumped in with bookkeeping, but it's almost like, to me, I feel like there's a bookkeeping lane, a payroll lane, and a VA lane. Like they all kind of complement each other. And some people do really well at offering all three, but it's kind of like if you want to niche down, and I know that, like, I kind of don't like that word because it's such a, what's that thing? Like a trend. But if you want to niche down on something, you kind of need to pick one of those lanes, right? Like to get,
Yeah, and I think, you're right. And some people will, this is what I say, when you come into the bookkeeping world, you might have brought all sorts of experience with you that makes you perform well in all those areas. Typically, you might do well 2 out of 3 of those. It's sort of identifying that within yourself, or if you're employing staff or contractors, that you're having really good testing, that you're not just making somebody to be in a role because that's what you want them to do. It's got to be what they are capable of doing as well. So it does get messy. So I think coming back to that, the community side, hugely important. That really good network around. Bookkeepers are so good at collaborating. It is fine to put your hand up. As I say, I get these frantic calls quite often, and a lot of it's they just want to talk about it. They don't necessarily need a solution, but they just need someone to talk to, because we're working with very confidential information. Sometimes we're working in really little towns. We can't even say Bob or Sue because they'll know who you're talking about. It's building that network, and it will help your own capability as well.
Right. Well, gosh, this is like a brain, brain firing conversation. And Kenn hates talking about this stuff, so we were
I
kind
do
of
not. Do not speak for me. Our members will hear this and they say, "Oh, is that what she's thinking about?"
Yeah.
That's
I
not
was just
true.
making sure you're awake. But we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with you because Kenn is the queen of fun. And I don't even know what she's going to ask you, but she's got some questions lined up for you, Leaine.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So we have we want to call this a quick fire round. I'm gonna ask you two things. So you have to choose. Don't think. You have to be able to answer us within 1 second. All right. So whatever comes out, and no explanation. So I'm gonna ask you, for example,
Okay.
red or blue. So you just pick one, no
Oh, no.
explanation, and we don't. You know what I mean? Because just
It's a
pick one.
terrible
Okay.
example. Like the Smartbooks logo is red and blue, and the JBSL is as well. Like, how does she pick one of those?
Exactly. So like don't give us an explanation because it's gonna make it more fun. All right, just to make you more
Okay.
controversial as well, Leaine. Are you ready? Okay, I'm just gonna fire the question and just pick one of them. All right, cloud systems or spreadsheets?
Cloud systems.
Teaching beginners or supporting experienced bookkeepers?
Beginners.
Structure or flexibility?
Flexibility.
Melbourne or Wellington?
Melbourne.
Ooh, wine festival or beach hop?
Wine festival.
Oh,
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
This one, alpacas or diesel?
Oh, that's hard. Oh,
okay. So I may
Sandy,
have
got you
helped with
there.
the question.
I think I'd have to go with Diesel. He needs more attention.
Oh.
And for just like background on some of these questions, as you can tell, they were created by Sandi, so blame her.
So for some context, Diesel is Leaine's dog and he is super cute. And if you're on the Smartbooks newsletter, he features in there. He's got his own little section. And you have alpacas.
I do.
And you love the alpacas.
I do. I go and talk to them every day. And sometimes they talk back.
Yeah, she really did get you there, didn't she, Leaine?
I thought I'd set her up.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
for sure.
no.
All right, okay, I've got another one. So it's finish the sentence, and I'm gonna say something and then just finish that one. So first, bookkeepers are underrated because
Under pressure.
We're not clear. We're not clear on what we actually do.
Oh.
All
That was a
right.
good answer.
Yeah. The next one. The biggest myth about bookkeepers is
That they're super organized.
oh, I love that.
I
Oh,
think we've got her stumped today now.
yeah,
I think
no,
the,
exactly.
the swan paddling under the water.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. I've got one last. Good training should always.
Be effective.
Nice.
Oh, I like my answer to that would have been come from Smartbooks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good training should always come from. Okay, we'll replace it. Good training should always come from smart books. All right, and I promise you one last thing, Leaine, and then after that, I'm not gonna put you through this stress anymore. But one
Okay.
word to describe early career Leaine versus the current Leaine. Just one word. One word for the early one, and one word for the current Leaine.
Um, um,
Underwear.
job.
Just kidding.
So job. So job. I
Job.
had a
Yeah.
bookkeeper job when I started, and I would say now, passion.
Oh,
I like that.
that's cool. That's such a good way to evolve as well.
Well, yeah, and that's why you would hope so.
Yeah.
you know.
I kind of feel like Kenn and I are the same, actually, because in the first episode of the podcast we talked about how we both kind of got here. So it was a job for both of us, right?
Yeah.
But we stayed because we're really passionate about what we
Exactly.
do.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in business for yourself, that's absolutely if you haven't landed there, then you've really got to have a look at what's going on. I actually don't think I'm employable anymore anyway, so I don't think I'd be able to go and get a job.
Send your
I'd probably
husband out
last
to
about
one.
2 days. I would be very politically incorrect, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have a couple more questions for you to end
Sure.
our little interview today. It's been pretty painless, though, right?
You're a
Except for
natural,
the
Leaine. You honestly are.
So, what is one common mistake that you see learners or new bookkeepers make?
Undervaluing what they do. Like, because they can do it reasonably, say, easily or effortlessly, or that they're systemized. They think that that's what everybody can do, and I think they underestimate the value that they have, with bringing that peace of mind, with being that first port of call when things hit the fan. So yeah, I think undervaluing. Certainly I did that, way undercharging, no idea of how I was, when clients share back to you what you actually mean to them with the work you do, it's quite humbling. So yeah.
So we knew that we were going to ask you that question today. And when I was thinking about what you might say, the one I actually thought of was a lot of bookkeepers don't realize that they're a business owner once you start offering services to a client, and even if it's just, I can't remember specifically what you said, how you started, like a friend's boyfriend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're still running a business.
Yes.
And I think a lot of them don't realize that. And it has the potential to open them up for some risk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I did not have a business mindset, and now I provide training with the local Chamber of Commerce here in Hawke's Bay on getting started in business and being the difference between being new to business or being in business. So some people bring a lot of already business experience when they do start out. Some of us don't, and that can include bookkeepers, because like you say, they're making a lifestyle choice of what could they be doing by working from home. So if they are in that category, they need to develop a business mindset. You can't, I wouldn't be here now 20 years later without having made a pretty big U-turn on how I needed to think and position my business.
We should actually have also mentioned that if you do the course through the chamber, but you're also one of the mentors for NZQBA's mentoring program. How we could forget about that?
Love doing that. And I learned so much from those sessions. It's so neat to see how the industry has evolved from when I started, so say 20 years ago, to what a bookkeeper is representing now, and also the higher level of work that we're delivering, the different services that we're delivering, and the value of those services have changed because technology has changed along the way too. So we're not just literally sitting there entering accounts payable and writing out checks.
Searching through shoeboxes for receipts.
Yeah, wouldn't still want to be doing that now.
I wonder if there's anyone who actually still does do that.
Probably.
Might have to
somewhere out there.
See if we can find someone.
Yeah.
Send us an email if you do that.
All right. So now, Leaine, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Again, I feel like, if you've been in the industry for a while, like, Leaine Jones, because she's literally everywhere. And she's also as what Sandi said, the mentor of our bookkeeping mentoring program. So I'm wondering, is there something else that you're not doing? So, like, what are you most excited about next? It can be personally or professionally.
Sure. I guess for me right now, because I've had a bit of a moment this week, is kind of what's next for Smart Books. So that would be my big kind of work project, is really climbing into it now. I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm obviously a bit of a late starter, but yep. So watch out. The other big thing for me is, and my husband has, well, for the 12th time, but this time he is finally retiring. So he will be at home. He's got his own business thing that he's doing, but he's going to be at home. So I'm sort of in, that's going to be the next chapter for us, really, to be able to spend a bit more time together. So on a personal level, that'll be nice. And he gets to make me cups of tea. And if I've got an early webinar on, he can walk the dog. So yeah, it all works out nicely.
I have a question. How long's he been retired for this time? Are we over a month?
No. So he's finishing up at the end of the month.
Okay.
And he has to stop because his dangerous goods license expires and he will not be able to do what he's been doing. So I said don't renew it, because he has very early morning starts and it's knocking him around. So we just need to make that change. So
it's a forced retirement this time because of the license.
Yeah, I think, so he retired probably about 15 months ago, officially. We did a barbecue and everything.
For anyone watching, you need to do the air quotation marks, retired.
Yeah, right. So, the TUI sign. But no, so that's the next chapter for us. So that's kind of cool. And then people say, well, when are you retiring, Leaine? And I go, it's not even on the radar. Can't even see it. So I'm around for a while if anyone needs any help with anything.
Don't offer that, just in case.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to talk about Bob, though, because so one of the questions Ken asked you before was whether you preferred a wine festival or the beach shop. So so my family are massive petrol heads. I always go to the beach shop. And we didn't manage to catch up this year, but last year we caught up, and Bob had built a hybrid motorbike / vehicle / trike thing, and it was super cool. And my dad and all his brothers were standing there like, oh, well, what's that made of? Like, what car parts on the end of that kind of thing? Is that what he's going to keep doing?
Yeah, so that is what he's doing. Yeah, so he's got another one. He sold that one to fund this current project, which is actually a trike. So it's a big trike front, and then there's a hearse on the back.
A hearse?
So he's going to hire himself out as a driver with said trike hearse for bikie funerals.
Oh, interesting.
That's oddly specific.
That's his business plan, and so it's just in the process of being approved. It's a bit like NZTA, but it's for what they call scratch builds. So it's got to be all approved so that it's legal on the road, and he's got a number plate. So, and he just figures these things out. He's all self-taught, and he's quite inspiring. He's been an absolute rock for me over the years. I wouldn't still be here doing what I'm doing as a business owner without him. So often, that's important too, is who you've got at home, or who's your support team, because you need, it doesn't just have to be another bookkeeper. They're handy too, but make sure you've got a crew behind you that understands and values what you do.
Shout out to Bob. He's awesome.
Go Bob. No, he is awesome.
You're the best, Bob.
He's very calm. He's very calm, which I am not. So, yeah.
I feel like that has to be the balance in a marriage.
Yeah, no, for sure. You have to complement each other.
Yeah. All right. Have you got any other words of wisdom to leave us with?
No, I don't think so. I think the big thing, like anything, is communication. And I think it's also too about just be kind to yourself. Like, it is a journey. It's all learning that we do. So there's no magic checklist or magic way of doing everything. It's got to feel right for you. And bookkeepers, they're just massively important to small business. So just keep doing what you're doing and keep learning.
Oh, I love that.
Just keep swimming.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Leaine. We've definitely
Thank you for
loved this
having me.
conversation. Yeah. And I know that our listeners will take a lot from it as well, especially around building confidence and what it really takes to grow as a bookkeeper. So, for everyone out there, you can learn more about Leaine and her work with Smart Books at www.smartbookscourses.com, or you can simply search Smart Books Courses on Facebook or LinkedIn.
And to everyone tuning in, thanks for being here with us. We'll see you next time on the next Behind the Books.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much again,
Thank you.
Leaine.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Books with Kenn and Sandi. We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of bookkeeping with us. Don't forget to check out www.nzqba.co.nz for more insights, resources, and updates. Until next time, keep crunching those numbers and having a laugh along the way.